to pray 6 months before Ramadan and continuously ask Allah to grant them and give them tawfiq to go through this month successfully. And then after, when the Ramadan is finished, they would start praying for the next 6 months that may Allah accept their ibadat and their du'as and all other efforts in Ramadan. This is how they treated Ramadan, because they knew the true value of this month. Therefore, to show our love to our Muslim brothers and sisters, it is necessary for us to remind each other for the importance of Ramadan. So we have arranged 2 programs. One is tonight, and the other part, this is part 1. And inshallah, next week, we will be having part 2, same time, same day, Friday, inshallah. And today's session also have 2 parts. First will be a talk on how to transform and better our prayers. And the second part, inshallah, will be question answer sessions on the fiqh or jurisprudence of fasting. So you can ask a question to the speaker about fasting and the fiqh of fasting, inshallah. Now, I would like to welcome and introduce our respected guest, Imam Muhammad Bakar. Sheikh Muhammad Bakar has studied Islam in Egypt, Pakistan, and in UK. And currently, he is performing his duties as an imam of one of UK Islamic Mission's busy masjid in Sparkbrook, Birmingham area. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah, Imam Sahib. Can you hear me?
Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah.
Welcome to our program, and Jazakumullah khair for giving us time tonight. May I ask you to start with the recitation of Quran, and I will then hand the mic over to you.
See, inshallah. I'm just having some difficulties with hearing what you're saying because it's very low.
I wonder if other people cannot hear me as well. If any of the sisters...
No, you're very clear, Sister Sabah. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam. Can you hear me, Fawzia?
Yes, you're very clear, Sister Sabah.
Okay, well, I won't be speaking much, Sheikh Wakar, so you will be speaking, inshallah.
No, now it's okay. Now I think it's okay, inshallah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والضحى والليل إذا سجى ما ودعك ربك وما قلى وللآخرة خير لك من الأولى ولسوف يعطيك ربك فترضى ألم يجدك يتيما فآوى ووجدك ضالا فهدى ووجدك عائلا فأغنى فأما اليتيم فلا تقهر وأما السائل فلا تنهر وأما بنعمة ربك فحدث صدق الله العظيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إنا أنزلناه في ليلة القدر وما أدراك ما ليلة القدر. ليلة القدر خير من 1000 شهر. تنزل الملائكة والروح فيها بإذن ربهم من كل أمر. سلام هي حتى مطلع الفجر. Dear respected sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. If I could just get a rough estimate of number of how many sisters are on this in this talk.
Around
Sister,
65.
65. Okay, so the pressure is on. So fiqh of fasting. So now I've been given 30 minutes. I'm really sorry for coming a bit late. We just had a janaza in the masjid just now, and as soon as the janaza finished meeting everybody, and I just ran into the office. So I've already eaten up 8 minutes of my time. But to concise down within 30 minutes the fiqh of fasting will be a bit difficult, but inshallah we'll nevertheless we'll try as much as we can. So what is the first slide? Inshallah, it says what is the maqasid of fasting, what is the reasons that a person fasts. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون. Now, the reason for the fasting is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that this fasting isn't something that has only been prescribed to this nation, the ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but rather the ummah and the nations that came before the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they also fasted. The naw'iyah and the way of fasting must be different. It would be different, but the way that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has taught us to fast is what we inshallah are going to be learning today. But mentioning that, what is the reason? Why is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala telling us to fast? He tells in the same ayah, he mentions لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ, so that you may become God conscious. And one of the most important things for a mu'min and a believer, a mu'mina, is that having God consciousness, having iman and taqwa within their hearts. If a person does not have taqwa, then a person is not able to fulfill the tasks that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordained for him and her to do. For example, if a person doesn't have taqwa, then it has no significance of him. If salah time comes or not, it has no effect. It doesn't affect him if salah time comes. And again, it has no significance if what's the punishment for a person who neglects salah, or a person who neglects fast, and a person who neglects other commandments of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the first and foremost thing that a mu'mina and a mu'min needs is that he or she needs to have taqwa within their hearts. And taqwa is something that is very important. And how do we attain that taqwa? Taqwa is self-restraint. Let's just say, like mentioned is over here, is self-restraint. Restraining ourselves and making ourselves understand the hudud that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed. Like for example, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam mentioned, أَلَا لِكُلِّ مَلِكٍ حِمًا وَحِمَ اللَّهِ مَحَارِمُهَا. That every single king that is every single king has his limitations, his laws that he has, and boundaries that he has placed. And the boundaries of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are the things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made haram. Now, when we understand that this is haram, it's only taqwa that will allow us to refrain from what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us to refrain from. If a person does not have taqwa, then he will carry out and carry on and carry on and carry on, and his soul and body and anything, then spirituality and the nutritions that the soul needs, he will not be given it to him. So that's the first and foremost thing, that a person, the reason for fasting is first that it is a commandment from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who has created us, He knows what is best for us. So because it is a commandment from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's important that we fulfill that commandment, because it's the hukm of Allah. It's the hukm of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We don't need to, even if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us no reason or no reasoning or no hikmah for why He is telling us to fast, even if there were no hikmah, we will still have to fast, because it was a fard from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is an order from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that you have to fast. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that reason why I'm telling you to fast is that لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ, so that you may attain taqwa. You may attain taqwa for your mind, your body, and your soul. And when you attain that taqwa, then you will be able to be those individuals that will be able to understand the verses that inna anzalnahu fi laylatil qadr, that we have revealed the Quran in Laylatul Qadr. So now you'll be able to understand the virtue of Laylatul Qadr. Then you'll be able to understand the virtue of the Quran. This is why Ramadan is known as Shahrul Ramadan, Shahrul Sabr, all of this Shahrul Siyam, all of these names are given to the month of Ramadan, because it makes a person exercise all of these things. A person exercises restraint, a person exercises sabr, a person exercises all these other things, increases in ibadah. He increases or she increases in tilawah of the Quran. And these are all things that that Ramadan reminds us of, and Ramadan tells us of. And this is how a person should, when he leaves from Ramadan, these are the things that he or she should look at. Have I increased or have I decreased, or have I made an active effort to make a change in my life in these areas? In these areas. Then he mentioned uh, purifying the mind and mind, body, and soul from spiritual and physical impurities over the months that we have, as we the years go by and the months go by. We see that certain habits creep into ourselves. When in Ramadan, we're conscious 24 hours of the day. We are conscious. Our iman and the level of iman and the level of consciousness in Ramadan goes far and beyond. We are able to control our tongues. We are able to, those few words that we would say that would be distasteful or would not be good in the month of Ramadan, we are able to control our tongues from uttering those words. We are able to control our thoughts from wandering around. We are able to we are able to increase in certain ibadats that we wouldn't do in the other time of the year. So what this does, it gives us food and nourishment for our soul. And I mentioned this the other day in Jum'ah as well. The Alama Rumi rahimullah ta'ala, he mentions that uh, that we have a nafs, and a person who has in this nafs that we, throughout our lifetime, 40 years, 50 years, 60 years that we live, all those years that we do, if a person is doing ibadah, if a person is praying 5 times a day, a person is giving sadaqah, a person is doing his tasbihat and dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it would be that even if a gram of that ibadah was stored away every single day, yeah, within 30 years, you will be able to see the effect of that within the character of an individual. You'll be able to see the effect of that in the way a person manifests himself, the way that he conducts himself in public, the way he talks to other individuals, the way his mindset is. Does he still have hasad? Does he still have bughd? Does he still have ujub? Does he still have all these kibr? Does he still, or she still have all of these things within her? If he still has that, then has your ibadah and has your worship over the years, has it really affected your mind, body, and soul? Has it really affected it in reality? Because if it did, in fact, if it did actually affect it, then a person will be free from these things. And Imam Alama Rumi, rahimahullah ta'ala, he says that he describes these illnesses, and he says that you acquire all of these ibadat and you store all of these ibadat away, and then there's a mice within your nafs that comes and eats away those good deeds. And those mice are the mice of ujub, the mice of hasad, the mice of bad character, the mice of kibr. All these things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us to refrain from. So this is what the maqsad and the maqasid of fasting is. One, yes, is the commandment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then apart with that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions himself, that is for you to attain taqwa, self-restraint, to purify your mind, your body, and your soul. And once your mind, body, and soul is purified from worldly affairs, then only then will a person be able to devote himself and focus on the affairs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and focus on gaining closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What is Sawm? Now, Sawm uh, is refraining from engaging in sexual activity, refraining from eating and drinking food or medicine. And that is the three things that a person needs to refrain from in actual facts and haqiqi, that he needs to refrain from any activities, sexual activity, eating and drinking. Now, nothing should enter into his mouth or her mouth that would nullify the fast. This is something that is what we know and we understand as what fasting is. And whether it be deliberately or accidentally, we'll come to that inshallah later on. With intention, a person does not eat with the intention from dawn till dusk. From dawn till dusk. Now, over here, if you see the slide over here, you see what is something you've already studied in fiqh before. You have something known as subh sadiq and subh kadhib. Now, which is known as true dawn and false dawn. If you see in the picture, if somebody could, the picture, the false dawn is the one on the right. If I'm yes, the one that's vertical. You see that that what happens is that the true dawn is the horizontal line, and that appears in the sky, that comes 12 minutes after the false dawn. Now, what will happen is there'll be some light that will come, and then after that light comes, then it becomes dark again. And when it becomes dark again, you will see the horizontal light, and that horizontal light will be subh sadiq, and that is the time where from there onwards an individual is not allowed to fast is not allowed to eat or drink any further. The ayah of the Quran that where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that until the white thread is distinguished between the black thread. Now over here yani, until the sun or the horizontal line yani subh sadiq comes. Like now, this is something again, understanding the interpretation of the Quran as well. Now you see that one of the Sahabi, when they read this ayah of the Quran, they went into the house and they took a black thread and they took a white thread and they placed it underneath their pillow. And when they woke up in the morning, and they still tried to wake up in the morning and try to distinguish between the white and black thread. And then they went to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, said, "Ya Rasulullah, I was not able to." And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Yani, this is not what the Quran is meant. What is meant by the Quran is yani subh sadiq and subh kadhib." And now this is something that we have to understand. Understanding the Quran and understanding a person should not, even Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, if a person tries to interpret the Quran, even if he's right, he is still wrong. Even if he is right, he is still wrong. One thing that we have, alhamdulillah, in Tahriq Islami, in Harakatul Islamiyya, is that alhamdulillah we have an extra love for the Quran. We have extra love to understand the meaning of the Quran, and the great efforts of our predecessors, like the like of Mawlana Maududi rahimahullah ta'ala. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala elevate his status. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increase increase in his rewards, and illuminate his grave. That the khidmah that he has done for the Quran, by the name of Tafhim al-Quran, we have that in front of us. Alhamdulillah, I know the sisters are very active, more active than the brothers. I ask some of our brothers that are part of UK Islam Mission, I say, have you even read the Muqaddimah of Tafhim al-Quran? And some brothers, subhanallah, they shy away from answering the question. But alhamdulillah, I know that the sisters have the halaqat, and with the halaqat, they also study and they read. This is something that alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has instilled within the Haraka al-Islami, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it last forever, inshallah. And also, with that, we have Sayyid Qutb Shahid rahimullah ta'ala fi dhilal al-Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala elevate his state and accept his shahada as well also. So that's the true dawn. Sunset is now, that is when a person does his suhoor. A person does his suhoor at that time. That is known as when the sun is rising, which is known as subh sadiq. A person is suhoor is something that is very important. Suhoor is something that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has told us in his sunnah, that this is a sunnah that a person should do. And eating suhoor, not only is a person eating food and sustenance for him to make the fast easy for the rest of the day, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has told us that a person eats, he'll be rewarded for eating the suhoor. A person will be rewarded for eating the suhoor. Now, these are virtues that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us. A person should at least have, if he can't eat much, a glass of water, dates, so on and so forth. This is something that a person should keep in mind when a person is fasting. Now, we don't want to go into the northern lights and the twilight season and uh, all of that, inshallah, because it's far beyond what we need to even discuss. And alhamdulillah, I think we've gone past that time of the year where this 18 degrees and the 15 degrees debate takes place and all of this. Now, fasting and the intention for fasting. Now, one of the conditions for fasting is intention, which is niyyah. Niyyah is something that is very important. Niyyah is according to, in everything that a person does, a person needs to make his intention. And we know the first hadith, or one of the most famous hadiths that we all are taught, and the first hadith that we probably we even heard of was إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala judges the action according to the intention that a person has. The intention is very important for an individual, that when he does something, he does it solely for the purpose and the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When a person is praying salah, the intention that he has before. And when a person is reading Quran, intention. When a person is doing wudu, intention. All of these things that has been taught. According to some aima, intention sometimes will be fard. According to some will be, there will be a sunnah. But over here, obviously, fasting. If a person is fasting in the month of Ramadan, yeah, or out of the month of Ramadan. If the person is fasting out of the Ramadan, the month of Ramadan is sunnah fast. He is fasting the ayyamul bid, or he's fasting the sunnah of fasting on Monday and Thursdays, or all of these kind of things. Then it is important for her and him to make an intention. It's important for her to make an intention, and the intention should be made as sunrise, as sunrise, or before sunrise. Or if a person forgets to make the intention, at least before zawal. After zawal, there can no longer be any room for intention now to be made. It's very important that the intention that is made before zawal, and a person makes this intention. And if not, if he makes the intention before going to sleep, also that is also acceptable as well. A person is a determination a person feels in the heart. Now, intention now, just on the topic of intention, when a person prays salah, he makes intention, and a lot of time what tends to happen is people are taught these long intentions within their language, whether it be in Pashto, whether it be in Urdu, whether it be in Punjabi. Is like tre fard namaz maghrib mu mori kaaba sharif, all these long intentions. These are khudai waste, and all these long intentions that people are taught in the masajid on these kind of things. These are you can use them. There's nothing wrong with them. There's nothing wrong, but intention is something within the heart. When a person stands up and in the heart he knows that he is praying 3 rakats salatul maghrib for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that intention is sufficient. There is no, you're already facing the Kaaba, you're already reading behind the Imam, or you're already reading on your own, and all of these extra, according to Mullah Gohar Rahman rahimullah ta'ala, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept his efforts and increase him in his rewards and elevate his status. He also mentioned that this kind of intention that a person does, which is verbally, Mullah Gohar Rahman rahimullah ta'ala, he mentioned that it is bid'ah. But that is Mullah Sahib's own thing. You can't say that if a person feels like, or if a person feels that doing intention is part of the salah, and he feels like if he does not do intention, then the salah is not accepted, then that will be considered as bid'ah. Yes, it'll be considered as bid'ah. But if a person is just doing intention and he knows that this isn't part of salah, and he knows that this isn't something that a person needs to do in order for his salah to be accepted, then it will not be considered, and it will not be classified as bid'ah. So over here, intention is determination a person feels in the heart to do something, but preferred to be verbally in the act of suhoor and intention. Now, when a person, the du'as that we've been taught, the dua, the ad'iyah that we've been taught by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that is something is also known as intention. That is something that a sunnah a person can do. I was talking about specifically for salah over here. Now, does a person need to do intention for every single morning when he wakes up? If he doesn't wake up for suhoor, the alarm didn't ring, or he woke up later on, so will that person still need to keep a fast? Imam Malik rahimullah ta'ala says that intention at the beginning of Ramadan will suffice for the entire month, and this is something that is a fatwa on that, if because the month of Ramadan is already fard upon us. Yeah. So now the month of Ramadan, the intention at the beginning of the month of Ramadan will be sufficient for the whole entirety of the month of Ramadan. It says the time for intention begins from the night of the fast till before midday. يعني الضحى الكبرى, which is about an hour before Zuhr Salah, which is before beginning times. What do you call it? We already, inshallah, we nowadays we don't, Subah Sadiq and Subah Kadhib is already done for us. You have a timetable that comes to your house. You look on the timetable, and the timetable tells you what time to close your fast. And then some people ask these questions, Sheikh, my masjid timetable has 5 minutes after this one, and that one is 5 minutes. Follow the masjid timetable that you have been following throughout the whole month of Ramadan, throughout the whole entire your normal timetable that you follow. Don't try to follow a timetable that closes 5 minutes later just in the month of Ramadan, because whatever timetable and whatever masjid you follow for your Jum'ah, whichever masjid you follow for your Eid, whichever masjid you follow, generally follow that timetable for the month of Ramadan as well. Also, you have generally sometimes you have 5 minutes difference, 10 minutes different. and yeah, or sometimes there'll be no difference as well. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us understand. Intention. Uh, if a person is a traveler or a sick, is sick now, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given rukhsa within the Quran. He's given us if a person is ill, or a person is sick, then a person, or is traveling, then the person does not need to fast in the month of Ramadan. The person does not need to fast in the month of Ramadan. He could make up for those fasts after the month of Ramadan. And this is obviously because Islam is a religion that is an understanding religion. He understands, Islam understands the needs of a human being. If a human being is ill, it'll be difficult for a person to fast. It'll be difficult for a person to fulfill the what is required of him by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Therefore, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us that if a person is fasting, therefore Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told that if a person is ill, then in the month of Ramadan he can make up for those fasts after the month of Ramadan. Once the month of Ramadan finishes, then he can make up for the fast after the month of Ramadan. Also a traveler. Now a traveler 48 miles, according to some scholars 50 miles. Now when a person is traveling, that person is able to do qada of his fast. Now, and he will just have to make up, or she will just have to make up for one fast after the month of Ramadan. But nevertheless, remember the virtue of Ramadan and the fada'il that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed within the day of Ramadan and the night of Ramadan. You will not be able to attain that virtue throughout the rest of the year. Therefore, it's very important, if a person is obviously, if there's a genuine reason that a person cannot fast, and he knows by him fasting or her fasting, her her situation will worsen, or it will not be, and they're traveling, and they know that if I travel, I won't be able to be comfortable in my traveling, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us that rukhsah. We could take that rukhsah. But always remember that if a person is able to fast, and just out of mere ease a person takes this rukhsah, then he is, or she is making herself not able to get the virtue and the pleasure that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed within fasting. Now, also a person that is a condition of fasting for free of menstruation. Now, obviously, you have certain issues that are related pertaining to women, and the monthly cycles that a woman has. That is something that is mentioned very clearly in the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Rather, the Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, the women mentioned a hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that the women will come to her, the Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, and they will show their cloth to her, the Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, and she will mention that you still have your monthly cycle, and then she will mention that this is now you are pure, and now you could start to pray and read again. Now, when a woman is on her monthly cycle, menstruation, then again she is not permissible for her to fast. Just the same way, she is not permissible for her to pray salah. It's not permissible for her to fast, and it's not permissible for her to pray salah. And this is a consensus by the Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah. There is not a single scholar from the past that has allowed or has said that women in the month of Ramadan, when they're on their menstruation, they are allowed to fast if they have the capability or the ability, or if the menstruation period is not too difficult for them. No scholar from the Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah has ever mentioned this before. It is very important to understand that women, if they're in the month of Ramadan, and they are on the monthly cycle, it is sinful for them to think that it is allowed for them to fast, and it's also sinful for them to think that she is not allowed to eat. It has been just the same way that it is fard for a person to fast in the month of Ramadan, the same way is fard for a woman who is on her monthly cycle not to fast in the month of Ramadan. Well, now we already know, obviously, in Salah, If a person misses her salah, if she misses her salah, she does not have to make up for the salah. She once she comes into tuhur, once she comes into her clean days, then after that she just carries on praying, has ghusl, and she will carry on praying from that time onwards. With Ramadan, the days that she has missed out, she should record those days that she has missed, and even if she has a normal habit, is 4 days, 3 days, or however days that is a normal habit, she record those days. Why? Because two benefits of recording the thing is, first one is, the benefit is obviously you will remember yourself that you had missed this many fasts. The second thing is, if before you were able to complete those fasts, you passed away and you left this dunya, it will be written somewhere. Your children or somebody will know about it, and they will give fidya on your behalf, and they will fast on your behalf. Just a week ago, somebody passed away within the masjid, and their son came to me and they said that my father had 3 fasts that he needed to keep. And I go, how do you know? He mentioned that he told my wife, and my wife knew about it. So I said, okay, now those 3 fasts that he has, give fidya for those 3 days, and also on his behalf, fast for those 3 days also. So these are two advantages of a person keeping these things recorded down. And also, if you have somebody, tell your other half, your husband, mention to them that, I've missed this many fasts. Khuda na khasta, if something happens, then what do you call it? If I'm not able to, if a person should do that as soon as they can after the month of Ramadan, they should fulfill and make up those fasts. If a person has these fasts outstanding, then throughout their lifetime they could do it at any time, but it's best to do it as soon as possible, so that this obligation is lifted from them, and they are able, they are free from any obligation for this month of Ramadan left over their head. So, like mentioned in the second slide as well, it is necessary to make up immediately, unlike salah, which must be made up. Is not necessary to be made up immediately, unlike salah, which must be made up immediately. Like, for example, obviously, if a person misses salah because you've done qada of salah, not in your monthly cycle, just generally, a person misses the salah, then it is he has to make up, or she has to make up, necessary for them to make up for it as soon as possible. If they were asleep and they woke up, then pray the salah that they missed. But with Sawm is not necessary, but obviously, as precaution, is always best that a person do it as immediately as possible, if health does allow and health does permit a person to do so. Who must fast? Who is fasting fard upon? Fasting is fard upon everyone, Muslim, male or female, which is sane, mature, and physically able, uh, free from menstruation and postnatal bleeding, residing and is not a traveler, and knowledge of fasting for someone who has accepted Islam in Darul Kufr. Now, let's take it for the Muslim, male and female. Now, every ahkam that you have in Islam, every hukum that you have, there are 3 things. The 3 things they said is fard upon aqil, baligh, and Muslim. The 3 conditions that a person needs to have. Now, he has to be aqil, he has to be somebody of intellect, sane, sanity. A person who is not sane, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is testing him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has tested him in a different way, and he or she is not fully mentally developed. Then obviously, if something is not beyond their understanding, therefore Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not punish that individual for that. That person has been marfu'ul qalam, that is mentioned in Arabic terms, in fiqhi terms, like the pen has been lifted upon him. Yani there is not going to be no account for that individual. Now, a sane person and a mature. Now, once a person hits the age of maturity, whether it be through age, or whether it be through changes of body, that person, once he's hit the age, or she has hit the age of puberty, then that individual has all those ahkam that are fard within Islam now become fard upon her and him, just as it is fard upon their parents. It is fard, they have to do, and if they do not do so, they will become punished for that what they do not do. And it's very important that we instill this within our children from a very young age. Like that's what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has told us, that take your children to the masjid when there are 7, or command them to read salah when they are 7. And then if they do not pray salah by the age of 10, then you can reprimand them a bit also if they do not pray by the age of 10. Now, this is something that is known as tarbiyah. Tarbiyah is very, very important. That is something that is very important that we all need to pay extra caution on and extra attention to, especially within the society that we live in, especially within the society that we live in. And especially if our children are going to mixed schools, state schools, and they have all these extra ideologies and extra things that are being taught to them by the teachers, and they come back and their minds be polluted. If there's nobody at home to cleanse their mind, if there's nobody at home, they're not even coming to the masjid, they have no connection with the masjid, they have no connection with their parents, they're not talking to their parents, they have nobody to talk to. Have a very close relationship with your children. And I was listening and I was reading a story the other day. A 13-year-old boy, brother says, a 13-year-old boy who committed suicide. A 13-year-old Muslim young boy, 13-year-old, he committed suicide, and he writes a suicide note before he leaves and before he jumps off the cliff. And he says that the reason why I'm doing this is because of the depression that I am feeling. The depression that I am feeling. And then he mentioned that one of the things that he says that I am so sorry, I feel, one of the things that I feel sad for whilst dying is that I will not be able to see 1 million subscribers of Mr. Beast, who is a YouTuber. Now, the question arises, Allahu Alam, I was thinking to myself that if a person, if this child had a very close relationship with their parents, I'm sure their parents will be able to understand and kind to figure out that there is something upsetting the child. Sometimes within our community, especially within the Asian community, mental health is given not as much attention that it should be given. Sometimes a child who is upset and a child that is sad is not given as much attention as it needed to. Why? Because we feel like, oh, he's just doing nakhre, he's just trying to do attention seeking, so on and so forth. My brothers and sisters, my sisters, those moments that especially in this day and age that these children are growing up in, they have been taught to be fragile. They have been taught that they are very fragile, and because of the fragility that they have, or they feel that they're fragile, they um, uh, they get upset very easily and very quickly. In our time, in our day, in our age, if we came to the masjid, Ustad beat us up, or Ustad said something to us, we'll take it on the chin and we move out and we carry on and we talk to our friends and we make a laugh and we make a joke and so on. And nowadays, it's not like that. You can't even the parents cannot shout at the children. Even the parents cannot shout at the children. So instead of making them constantly shouting at them, constantly trying to bicker with them and trying to give them nasiha 24 hours, every time you see them, you're just giving them a lecture. Every time you see them, you're trying to tell them to do something. Instead of doing that, spend some quality time with them. Speak to them. Talk to them about what they like. Try to understand what they like. Try to understand what's their hobbies. What their hobbies are. Are they into football? Are they into bowling? Are they into hiking? Are they into traveling? All of these things, and I try to understand their hobbies so that you can be part of their hobbies. They feel that I do not, I am not in need of trying to find other friends. They will have friends as it is, but try to befriend your children. Be friends with your children so you have a close connection to them, because later on it becomes very difficult once they become older, that, and if they're not opening up to you, it's very sad, especially when the brothers and youngsters contact us, myself, because they feel like, because he's a young imam, they feel easy to speak to me, and they contact and they speak and they tell us that all night, Sheikh, I was crying in my room. All night I was crying in my room. What were you crying about? About life and this, and this is going on in my life, and this is going on in my life, and this is going on in my life. And they have nobody to speak to, because they're boys, or they feel like, I'm not able to open up to my friend. I'm not able to open up to my father because my father's never there, or he's always working. And if I try to speak to him about my feelings, he shuts it down straight away. He feels uncomfortable about this. I can't speak to my mother, because when I speak to my mother, the first thing she says that, oh, because you don't do this, is because you don't do this, you don't do this. She starts giving me a lecture. If they come and speak to you and they're trying to understand, trying to make you understand their feelings, try to sit down and understand what they are going through, sympathize with them, understand them, And then once you've listened to them, give them a solution. Don't give them a solution before you've even understood what their feelings are. Try to understand the feeling, especially our youngsters, our sisters, and our brothers in this generation that they are growing up in. It's very important that we think about their iman, and in the iman, to safeguard their iman, because it is a very testing time indeed. Obviously this was nothing to do with fiqh of Ramadan, but it's very important that we understand maturity doesn't, even though a person is mature by age, it doesn't necessarily mean yes, everything becomes fard upon them, all of that, but a person still will probably not be able to be mature mentally. Yani he's mentally there and everything, but he doesn't understand responsibilities. A person will be by the age of 35, 45, and he does not understand his responsibility as a human. He has not grown up. He still feels to himself that he's still 18. He's still trying to act like a 24-year-old boy. He's still trying to act like a 22-year-old boy, but he's 35. He still dresses up like he's 17. All of these kind of things. And maturity is very important, and that is only going to come through tarbiyah, that a person gains from their family, from their parents, and also from from coming to masajid, to program halaqat that they have in the masjid. Even if you feel like this program will not benefit, send your children to the halaqah, to the masjid. Don't try to do things at home. You have your study circles at home and this and the other, but the barakah there is in sending your child to the masjid, even if the imam is an Urdu speaking imam, even if he's an Urdu speaking imam, you'll see the virtue and the barakah of that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed just within the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, is also further upon a woman who is free from menstruation and postnatal bleeding. Postnatal bleeding is after a woman gives birth. She bleeds. The maximum days of bleeding is 40 days, and that is going to be known as nifas, which is known as Arabic. And if it's past 40 days, then it'll be known as istihada. Those are different masails that are what you call it, pertaining to menstruation of a woman. And 40 days, and the aqal, the most minimum days of those. There is no minimum days for postnatal bleeding. It could be 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, 4 days, or 10 days, or how many days after the blood stops. Then the woman is now again, she is tahir, she is tahira, and she's pure, and she'll have to again carry on with the with what has been prescribed upon her, praying salah and fasting. Also, types of fasts. One is what you call it, something that is a person makes another, which in Urdu you call mannat. If I pass my driving test, chalo, we have 5 minutes, inshallah. I've been told by Sister Batul, and I'm just trying to see if there's any. Uh, if anything, okay. Uh, just general other quick masail that probably important. Inhaler, putting eardrops and what you call it, drops in your eyes. According to this isn't on the slide. Sorry, I haven't put this on the slide. This I just So now, if a person is doing all of that, inhaler, there's different of opinions amongst the scholars. Some of the very majority of the Hanafi scholars are of the opinion that a person who takes inhaler, it does invalidate the fast. Some of the modern some of the opinions, especially like the likes of from the European Fiqh Council, they mentioned that if a person does take inhaler, because it is the particles do not reach to the stomach, therefore it goes into the lungs. Therefore, a person can use the inhaler. But nevertheless, a person should try to refrain from using those things, doing any activity that will be make it necessary, or for him to use an inhaler, or her to use an inhaler. Try to minimize, if a person is asthmatic, try to minimize or all those activities that will make you in need for your inhaler. So at least that way you're out of the discussion, or you'll have no need to think that it was my fast valid or was it not, because you haven't used the inhaler in the first instance. Putting in medicine in ears and eyes. It mentioned ears, it does not break the fast. Eyes, there is what you call it, the thingy difference of opinion. The opinion towards it breaking fast is more authentic, because the eyes do have a very direct connection with the throat, and all of that. The it has an effect on all of those things. The other masala that normally is us using of toothpaste in the month of Ramadan. A person should refrain from using toothpaste in the month of Ramadan. Is in the month, not in the whole entire month of Ramadan, only in the time that a person is fasting. Otherwise, your teeth will fall out by the end of Ramadan if you don't use toothpaste at all. In the times that when a person is fasting, during the hours of Ramadan, the hours of Psalm, a person should refrain from using toothpaste, mouthwash, use miswak. So once you're suhoor, before suhoor, brush your teeth, and after that, during the day, you may use your siwak and cleanse your teeth. That way, be very cautious when doing wudu, gargling your mouth. Make sure no water enters into down your throat, and other masail that in the month of Ramadan, tasting of food, if it's very, very necessary, very, very, very necessary, then a woman needs, and if she needs to taste something, she can just taste and spit it out. If there's less salt or whatever, that's only obviously the masala is if somebody's husband is very strict. And alhamdulillah, I don't think Allahu alam, Allahu alam. But if somebody's husband is very strict, or if there's a large gathering of mehman that are coming and is a guest, and you think that I just want to check quickly if everything is on point, then a person can quickly uh, take a little bit and just taste it with the tip of the tongue and spit it out. Don't try taking full on nawale and spoons of food and say, "Chalo, Sheikh Saab said we could taste the food." Not that's only a little bit that would be permissible. Other than that, inshallah, if there's any questions, we'll leave it within the question. And types of fast, other fast and Muharram, and then you have the Ayyam al-Bid and the Sitta min al-Shawwal, من صام رمضان فأتبعه ستا من الشوال كان كالصيام الدهر. Whoever does Ramadan and then after Ramadan follows it by 6 is as if though that he has prayed the whole, fasted for the whole entire year. Salatul Tarawih, another mas'ala. Salatul Tarawih is sunnah, is a nafil prayer. If a person can read full 20, then they should read full 20, because that is the sunnah of Hazrat Umar radiallahu ta'ala an, which is the consensus and the ijma' of the Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala an. But nevertheless, because it's nafil prayer, a person can pray 2, 4, 8, 7, 6, however he wants to pray or she wants to pray. But it's always something that obviously if you follow the sunnah of the Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala an, also that is something that would be a great virtue. And Taraweeh, pray within the masjid, pray at home, however you feel like it's what you call it, you want to do that. Inshallah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to understand. I hope that whatever I have said has been beneficial, inshallah, and has actually probably first and foremost changed or allowed me to benefit from it, and then yourselves as well. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. Any question, inshallah, sister, you may go forward.
Jazakumullah khair, Sheikh Waqar. That was very, very beneficial, and a lot of topics in such a short time. And I am sure that sisters will be having questions regarding fasts. And this is the time, sisters, you can use the chat room, and you can also use your mics as well. May I request that you stick to the topic of Fiqh of Fasting, and you keep your questions short, inshallah. So if there is any sister who want to ask question, then you go ahead. There are 2 questions that have been sent to me, Sheikh. One is that what is the rate going for the fidya now with the prices going up of food and everything? And the other question is that if we're giving a sadaqah to somebody, do we have to tell them this is a sadaqah? These are the questions.
The fidya rate has been is £5 this year, because there's different things. Inshallah, I'll probably put it on the group later on, because fidya is given through barley, raisins, this side. So it's one of the very basic one is £5, and then it goes up to £10, £15 as well, depending on how generous you want to feel. So whatever your istita is and your ability is, you could give it. But the minimum is £5, inshallah. So every day £5 for fidya. And the second question was, sorry, I forgot the second question was.
What she said, that if we're giving
Okay,
sadaqah to
sadaqah.
somebody, do we have to tell them?
So if you're giving sadaqah to somebody, no, you don't have to tell them that you're giving sadaqah to them. No.
Okay. I've got another question in the chat room. The sister is saying that, can a diabetic person take insulin during the fast?
No, it wouldn't be permissible to take insulin during the fast.
It's not
No, if a
permissible.
person does take insulin, then the fast they'll just do qada of the. If it's necessary for them to take the insulin at the time, then what do you call it? Then they'll just do qada. Or if they're taking insulin, and then is something that is thingy. Ji.
I will read the question here. My daughter is pregnant, and due to her baby in couple of weeks, inshallah, she is unable to keep her fast. What can she do? Would she give fidya, or would she do the fast again?
No, so once she's had her delivery and Ramadan is finished, she'll make up for those fasts that she's missed.
I would add a question here, Sheikh, because somebody did ask me about it, that what if she is breastfeeding for the next 1.5 years, and people are very thirsty. So what would be your advice in that situation?
It's also permissible for somebody who's breastfeeding to do qada of their fast as well.
Okay. There is a question here. Is it necessary to complete previous fast before next Ramadan?
It's not necessary, but it's obviously important that he or she does. If she hasn't, then the month of Ramadan comes, she still have to fast for them, and then once the month is finished, then she has to complete those.
Okay.
She could do any time throughout her lifetime, but obviously, like I mentioned, it's always better to do it as soon as possible.
Okay, the sister who asked about her pregnant daughter, she is asking what are her options. So if you can clarify a little bit for her, what she should do after the baby is born.
So like I mentioned, after the baby is born, if she's born in the month of Ramadan, it'll be probably difficult because of her postnatal bleeding and so on and so forth. So once the Ramadan is finished, the whole entire Ramadan, or whether if she hasn't fasted any single days, then she'll have to make up for those 30 days throughout the year, inshallah.
Okay. There is a question that, what if we are having suhoor and the time goes over 1 or 2 minutes? Is there a grace time?
Is there a grace time? No, there is no grace time. Once the Subha Sadiq comes, then what do you call it? Then it will be thingy. But obviously, if it's done unintentionally, a person not able to see, he didn't know, didn't look at the time, then that's something different. There's another thing that people say, that whatever you have in your hand, you finish it off when the adhan is going on. No, once the adhan has come, then you place down whatever you have, because now the time of fast has started.
Okay, it says that if we give loan to somebody, we need to give zakat on this money or not?
So there's two types of loans. There's loans that are long-term loans that you have, like for example, mortgage that people have, and you know that it's not going to affect your financial status because you already have a set rate with how much you're going to give every single year. So that kind of that will not nullify your zakat. You will still give zakat with that kind of loan that an individual has. But if there's another loan, you've taken it from somebody and you're maqroos and you know that you have to give it, and there's then that kind of loan, then a person does not have to give zakat.
Okay, then they don't give zakat. Okay.
Yeah.
There is a question that a person has missed a lot of fast during their time when they were not conscious of God-fearing situation, and then they have come back to Islam. What should they do? They've missed an awful lot of fast. So what would be your advice?
The advice is a person who misses one fast, he has to fast for 30 days. Now, a person, that individual should try to make up for them as much as she can. How many of a fast she believes that she missed. and at least make up for the fast that you have. Like if it's 15 days, 100 days, 200 days, how many they are, make up for them through that, and then ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for istighfar as well, and try to fast as much as you can.
Okay. Jazakallah. Okay, dental treatment. Can filling nullify the fast?
No, if there's no substance that's gone down the throat, then no, it wouldn't notify. They have the suction pipe anyway, so very unlikely that anything does go down. So I think it should be fine.
Okay. One of the sisters saying that, what about if somebody has to give zakah? Do they tell people that this is zakah money? Like the sadqa lady, is it must that they tell?
Yeah, because now you make the intention that you're giving zakah. Yeah, you take out the thingy, but that person who you're giving to, if you know that they are eligible for zakah, you don't need to mention to them that this is zakah. No.
Okay, you don't have to mention them.
But
Okay.
you have to make, when you take the money out from your money, you have to make the intention that this is zakat money. Because if you do
Yeah,
not
you
make the
need,
intention, then that.
right. You need to know the money that you are giving. This is zakah and this is sadqa. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
they don't need to know. You need to know.
Okay. I have a question. Can somebody, the sixth fast after Ramadan, the Shawwal, can somebody do the niyyah of the Shawwal fast as nafal and their missed obligatory fast as monthly cycle?
Yes, they can. MashaAllah, they can.
Okay, that can solve a lot of sisters' problems. Okay, and Jazakumullah khair. I think the brothers, Sheikh has already answered the brushing of the teeth. Teeth brushing during fast, is it permissible or not?
No, it won't be permissible to fast. Like I mentioned, there's difference of opinion. You'll probably see a difference of opinion. The opinion that I take is that in the month during the fasting hours, a person should not brush their teeth, because there is a lot likelihood. I think there's some doctors over here as well. Like when somebody is having a stroke or heart attack, they spray underneath the tongue because it's faster to the system and all of these kind of things. And there's particles that could go underneath the tongue, into your mouth, out of all of that ikhtilaf, and out of caution, and out of all of that, a person should refrain. The taste stays in the mouth and all of this. So a person, and even after the taste stays in the mouth, once you swallow the saliva, the taste of that goes into your throat. So all of that, because of there's a lot of speculation over there. A person should refrain from brushing their teeth during the hours of fasting. Before the fast and after the fast, you could brush before you come for Tarawih, especially, and also brush before your suhoor starts.
But Sheikh, you're saying brushing, but I think it's the toothpaste which is the problem. But if somebody is doing just a dry brush,
No, that'd be no.
that'd be all right. Okay.
That'd be the same as miswak, wouldn't it?
There is a question that if a medical condition, due to a medical condition, is fidya enough, or one has to fast as well?
So medical condition are two types. One is a temporary medical condition. So, example, somebody's temporarily got some ulcer in their stomach, and what do you call it? Or Allahu Alam gave that as an example, and they have to take medication, and they can't fast because the medication is very important, or they're going through chemo or something like that, and they know that is a temporary kind of thing, because after 2 months or a year they'll become better again. So when that person becomes better, then that person will do qada of the fast that he has done. But there's other illnesses, like for example, somebody is diabetic, and the doctors has a very he's on type whatever, diabetes 1 or 2, whichever the high one is, and the doctors told him that you're not allowed to fast for this reason. So that person is now which is known as ma'zur, and he has a chronic condition, and therefore for him or her, they will give fidya. They will give fidya, and they do not have to fast over that, because the fidya will be sufficient, inshallah.
Okay, there is a question, I think you've answered it already, that I have just had an eye surgery and need to be using eye drops throughout the day. Is it permissible while I'm fasting?
So now, like I mentioned, what you call it, there's two opinions over here. Some of the opinion from the scholars are of that if you use eye drops, it does not nullify your fast. If there's something that is there that is very important, inshallah, you can contact me later on, and I could give you a proper fatwa on that, inshallah.
Okay, there are some questions which have been repeated, and I know you've already answered, but I will read it. Do we need to tell people giving them zakah or fidya money?
No.
No. Okay. Is a person who is on insulin okay to give fidya and not fast? Yeah, I think it's a chronic thing.
Yeah, if it's a like, for example, even in the winter days, you're not able to not have insulin. Then what do you call it? Then then that'll be known as a chronic insulin, any chronic illness, and then you will be able to give fidya. But that's only if in the winter you're not able to, because the days are shorter, and if you can fast in those days, then you should fast in those days.
Okay, I think there are some questions which are repeated. I've already asked about mixing intention of Shawwal and Mr. Ramadan fast. We can do that. So you can keep missed fast from periods and the sixth fast as one. Yes, as one bay'at. I don't understand the question, sister. But if we are talking about the Shawwal, 6 of Shawwal fast and making up your obligatory menstruation fast, then yes, the Sheikh has already said you can mix it. My child is asking, are jinns and shaitan locked up? Jinns and shaitan.
So shaitan's mention of the shayateen, that when Ramadan comes, the main shaitan is locked up and is chained away. That comes in hadith. But then again, the shaitan of the nafs, this is what we're trying to control in Ramadan. The shaitan that is within the nafs, tame that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tame the other shaitan. Is our responsibility to tame the nafs that we have within us that makes us do all the shaitaniya, the one that you do as well. Little boy.
Yeah. I mean, there is a question by one of the child that if the shaitan is locked up, why people are still doing evil things? What would you say to them?
MashaAllah. Very good question. Very good question, young boy. Now, look, like I mentioned, the nafs that a person has. Now, imagine, let's just take an example that if a person mixes the tea, a person puts his spoon in the tea, he takes and mixing, and once he takes the spoon out, the tea is still mixing, it's still swirling in the cup. And that's what Ramadan is. And a person, his nafs all entire year, he's used to swearing, he's used to watching things that he's not meant to be watching, he's used to doing all of those things throughout the whole entire year. And then once Ramadan comes, those things that are still within their nafs. So the nafs that it has is not being trained to be for self-restraint. Because there's no self-restraint, the individual carries on doing what he's doing. That's why the person still does thingy. So that's the whole purpose of Ramadan, to attain self-restraint.
Okay, jazakumullah khair. Okay, there is a question that if person has a chronic medical problem, do they carry on giving fidya every single year?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because they can't fast. And this is okay, it's not the last question. If someone have given some jewelry or money to keep, who is to give the zakat? The person who owns the valuable thing, or the person who's keeping it?
The person who owns it will give zakat, and even if we given somebody to borrow the money as qarda, as dain, that person will still have to give zakat on that. Or if he's given somebody to borrow or whatever or look after, he will also give zakat on that as well himself, the owner of the item.
Okay, there is another question. It says that my child was born in Ramadan. I kept all my fast afterwards, but I didn't pay fidya during Ramadan. Do they supposed to pay fidya and do the missed fast?
No, so like the sister said, I'm guessing that once the child was born, there was no nifas, no blood, and because there was no blood, then she started to fast. And if she's fasting, then there's no need to give fidya. Fidya is only given if a person does not fast.
Okay, there is a question regarding the haid, the periods, and this is such a common question, Sheikh. When sisters are having spotting and then it goes away and then it comes back again, and this is extremely confusing time. What advice you would give to people who are having intermittent, irregular bleeding?
So now what tends to happen is that if the fiqh mentions that there are minimum days of haid and maximum days of haid. And now haid is period, the blood. So I'll use the Arabic terminology. The minimum days is 3 days. Yeah. So anything that is less than 3 days is known as chronicle discharge. Yeah. Chronicle bleeding. So if it's 1 day, 2 days, or 3 days, that will not be counted as haid. And the maximum days of haid is 10 days. Yeah. So now like a woman, in the books of fiqh, it mentioned that a woman has her own ada, which is known as habit. Now she could have 5 days, 6 days, 8 days, some 3 days. And now if the ada is the 3 days and then it finishes, then yani thingy. But now if it's within those 10-day period, if it comes and goes, then comes and goes, then the time that she's pure, she will thingy. But then when it comes again, then she will classify as what you call it, impure again. So is that 10-day period? That's the 10-day period. Now, if it's beyond 10 days, that is again known as istihaba. Istihaba is known as chronicle bleeding. Now, in chronicle bleeding, the hukum changes. Yeah. So the hukum changes. So now, what did I say? The minimum days is 3. So between 3 and 10, this is known as haid. Yeah. This is known as haid. And once it goes past the 10-day periods, this is known as istihada. Now, once it's istihada, this is chronicle bleeding. Because it's chronicle bleeding, she was now, the hukum changes. Hukum changes to what? That she will still pray salah while she purifies herself, she prays salah, and she will still keep her fast. She purify herself and keep her fast, because this isn't coming from the raham. This isn't coming from the womb. This is another vein or another part or something else, but it's not from the womb. So because it's that reason, this is known as istihada. So within the 10-day period, whatever it is, that'll be known as haid, 3 to 10, and beyond 10 days, that will be known as istihada. I hope that answers your question. But the fiqh of menstruation, I think that's maybe something that sisters should keep as a topic, and get one of the sister alima teachers that, what do you call it, maybe my sister, she is also an alima, maybe she could teach that. It'd be more comfortable for her to teach rather than myself.
I think that's a very good idea, Sheikh, and we will arrange that, inshallah. There is a very innocent question, and I know this innocent person as well. If someone got her period just a few minutes before iftar, would she has she missed it, or would she take it as a as a fast?
Now, it's not, however, what you call thingy, she's Mr. Fast.
Yeah, it is a very heartbreaking feeling, Sheikh. You don't know about it.
Allah
And
subhanahu wa
may
ta'ala,
Allah
Allah
reward
subhanahu wa ta'ala
all
reward her.
the sisters.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is the test. This is the test, you see. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is all seeing, all watching, and whatever He does is through His infinite wisdom. And sometimes we don't understand, sometimes we think, that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Asa an takrahu shay'an wa huwa khairul lakum. Sometimes you might dislike something, but it's better for you. So these are things that this Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives reward in sabr as well, inshallah.
Inshallah. There is a question. I don't know how much time we have. If the admin can advise us about the time, and there is also a hand raised as well. So, Sister Roshanara, you can speak on the mic. Can you unmute yourself?
Yes, Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam.
Thank you so much, Sheikh, for answering our questions. And thank you so much for your time, Jazakallah khair. Just wanted to follow on the question about the pregnancy. I know you're saying that she can fast, and I understand that. But what my daughter is concerned about, she's saying, Mom, if I die, I want to make sure that I give some fidya. So she's given me £210, and she wants me to feed a poor person for those 30 days. So that's where I'm confused. She said that she searched quite a lot and heard from other sheikhs that, she can give the fidya money. So if something happened to her or she passes away, um, you know, what should she do? That was the question I was asking. What would be her option? Does she
So,
still continue to pay her money?
so
Because she has the intention to keep
is
the
she saying?
fast,
Okay,
inshallah.
no, ठीक है, inshallah. Jazakallah khair. So is she saying that just to understand, if she's saying that she dies before she's able to keep the fast, that's why she's giving you the money.
Yes, so because she'll be breastfeeding the baby.
ठीक है, inshallah.
So last one she couldn't keep because again she wasn't well and she was breastfeeding, so that left 2 years. And by the time now she's ready for the other one, now it's again happening. So her fasts are getting more and more, and she's just worried. What should she do? So I
ठीक है.
want to know as a mother, so I can advise her properly.
ठीक है, inshallah. So like I mentioned, like when you're keeping your qada fast, they don't have to be consecutively. Yeah, she could have done throughout the year 5 in 1 month, 5 in another month, 5 in another. She would have completed that as that. But now this question that you brought up raised over here regarding what you call it, does she have to give fidya? If you look at it from actual textbook, I think she doesn't have to give fidya because it's necessary for her to fast. But as a precaution, what she's given you fidya, that if I am not able to fast, then this is a fidya. I think even if what you call it, she does fast and she still gives fidya, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward her for it. But I'm saying, as is it important? Is it fard for her to give fidya? That is the question. If that's the question, no, it's not. Yeah. But if she wants to give on yani as yani I think he's saying that I want to give it because I want to give it to the poor and I want to give it, then that would not be an issue, inshallah. If you've given it to you, you could hold on to it. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give her a long and healthy life for her child and for her children that she has, so that she can give them a good upbringing and they live with their mother as well, inshallah.
Amen. Jazakallah khair.
Okay, we've got very little time left, and I will quickly ask you another question. It's a different question. It says that we've got a money, we are holding money for somebody else, which was left by deceased parents, and the money belongs to somebody else. But this somebody else is not taking the money for a long time. So who is going to pay the zakat?
If they're not taking the money, you say to them, Sheikh Waqar is in Sparkbrook Masjid.
Or Sparkbrook Mosque is also ready to take any donations. Who will pay? Who will pay then?
That's a very interesting what you call it scenario. But no, nevertheless, the zakat, sorry, the money is the owners, and they will pay zakat. It's got nothing to do. They will not be held accountable for it.
Okay, Jazakallah khair. I'm going to do the last question, or I still have a couple of minutes. A mother is upset with her daughter for getting married again without her permission. The daughter is really sorry and asks for forgiveness. Will her fasting be accepted? Very emotional.
Sorry, sister, your voice cut off in between. I didn't hear the whole question.
Okay. This is a daughter has upset her mother by getting married and taking permission from her mother, and she's wondering if the daughter's fast. So will the fast be accepted?
Okay, so
for
like
her upsetting her mother.
This is a very thingy. Now, first thing is, a sister. I'm guessing because she got married again, she was already divorced from before, or she was married before, or she was widowed or whatever. So this was her second marriage. So technically, in Islamically, she is her wali herself. She doesn't need permission to get married again from her mother, neither her father. So if she got married again, she hasn't done anything sinful. She has done everything within the rights in Sharia. As for the mother, I don't understand why she is upset. If the daughter is married and she is happy, and she is married to a Muslim and living what you call it, a happy life, the mother should be able to accept it and reconcile with it, and accept the husband and accept the daughter for whatever for whatever they have done. Second thing is breaking ties. In this circumstances, I'm assuming that the mother has broken ties with the daughter, not the daughter breaking ties with the mother, or each way, vice versa. One of the hadith that I did in Jummah today, the khutbah was entirely on this, was 5 people that on Yom that will their fast will not be accepted, and they will not gain the forgiveness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And one of those individuals are people who break ties with kinship. Yeah. And that is something that is a grave sin. So the mother should make an active effort to reconcile with the daughter, and the daughter, because it's your mother, even though maybe you were in the right, or whatever you did was thingy, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala soften the heart of the mother, Ameen. And what you call it, also the daughter should make an extra active effort to try to convince the mother, make her happy, and try to attain her forgiveness. Nevertheless, she is your mother, and you should the Jannah lies beneath the feet of your mother, and all of these things. So all keeping all that in consideration, try to make more of an effort to make her happy, inshallah.
Jazakumullah khair. I'm going to take the last question now. I know the questions are still coming. Sister Shaheen, your question is not related to Ramadan or fast. It is more domestic. We will try our best to send this question to Sheikh and then communicate between you. Or the best is that you seek your local UKIM mosque wherever you are, and I'm sure that they will help you with this. May Allah make it easy. The last question is, when we are paying tax, do we still have to pay zakah?
Yes, because zakah is for the thingy taxes, which is known as a demand, which is for the government, and the government uses it to for all sorts of different things. That will not be known as zakat. Zakat is a money that is left behind, that has been the whole entire year has gone past on it, and you take 2.5% out of that and you pay zakat on that, inshallah.
Jazakumullah khair, brother. They were, the whole session was so beneficial. So many things I've learned, so many things I forgot, and I remember them. May Allah reward you in abundance, and may Allah keep you and all the shuyukh like you among us. There were a couple of questions that I have not asked, and the question was, how can we contact Sheikh? Because they want to ask more questions.
Okay, inshallah. If sister, just if you want to put my number up on the thingy, and you could send me messages. I can't promise you that I'm gonna get through to your messages today, but inshallah, I will through at the weekend. Inshallah, I will get through.
Okay, we will. If the admin knows the number and if they can share it in the chat room, that would be very helpful. Jazakumullah khair, brother. We've got just few minutes left, and we will be doing just a couple of appeals and some announcements as well. Just to remind everybody that next week, same place, same time, we're going to have another topic which is so important for us, and that is transform our prayers, inshallah.
Do I have permission to leave, inshallah?
Yes, if you want to, yes, please.
Okay, jazakallah khair, everybody, for listening.
Khair.
And jazakallah khair for inviting me as well. Subhanakallah wa bihamdik, nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. On 30th of March, we will be having an Urdu session. Do not despair, Allah's mercy. This will be Urdu session, and that will be in the morning time. And then we're going to have youth welcome Ramadan. So it's going to be a very busy March. 18th of March in the morning. And this is also a very special one, which is arranged by the youth and conducted and delivered by the youth. Please remember to leave Sheikh's number. Yes, I would request the admin to, if they know, they can send it to you in the chat room. We also have some appeals as well, so we can go through. Sisters, these announcements that I've made, they are only for the welcome Ramadan, before Ramadan. Inshallah, then we will be sharing with you the information of the online Ramadan classes as well, inshallah. Yeah. All right. The first appeal is the Dawah Fund appeal. The Dawah is the UK Islamic Mission Sisters Dawah is a busy department. It's an active department. It's a department which is it's a bridge between communities as well. It's community cohesion as well, and it is it's giving information to non-Muslim about Islam. So we need a lot of funds, because it's an active and on-field department, and the activities are all field activities in the community, doing so many things in the community. That's why we need funds. So, sister, please remember them. To give whatever you can in before Ramadan or even during Ramadan, inshallah. I would suggest to do as soon as possible. The next one is, yes, this is UK Islamic Mission Livelihood for Women, and this is throughout all around the world, the poor countries, the struggling communities. As you know, the situation of the world around is pretty chaotic, and economically as well, people are struggling and under stress as well. And here, UK Islamic Mission Sisters have made a livelihood program for these sisters around the world who can then earn their own money. They can have their own businesses. They are given skills to do sewing and cooking and agriculture, a lot of things, and they can have their own little businesses as well to run. This is, I think, it's utmost important for us to remember these women who are struggling, and sometimes they are struggling single-handedly, as their probably husbands have or fathers have passed away. So do remember this very special. I think these are the only two appeals. I must say well done for all the question. There is a question, is there any circle or branch in Manchester area? A sister from there has asked me to find out, as she is interested in learning the deen. Yes, sister, there are different masajid as well. So maybe Sister Madiha can inform Sister Shaheen about where these sisters can go. That's it, sisters. Jazakumullah khair. May Allah give us tawfiq to fully benefit from the coming month of Ramadan, and the taqwa that we develop in this Ramadan. May Allah make us to maintain it throughout the year, because that is the challenge. May Allah accept everyone's efforts tonight. Please remember us in your du'as, and we remember you. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdik, nashhadu la ilaha illa ant, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.